Wow. So let's talk about your initial training. So you are a, I'm going to word it this way. You are a product of a 2-day class, right?
I am.
I'm
One,
accurate when I say that. You took
yeah,
a 2-day microblading class, and of course, there is a lot of controversy around these 2-day classes. I mean, when they come up on on Facebook and on social media, I mean, it's super controversial. A lot of people, can't stand them and are really loud about it and whatnot. And I guess I guess it depends on the 2-day class. I guess you could, right? I guess it's the way you utilize that 2-day class. The way I look at it is, if you take a 2-day class, you've never done PMU or microblading ever, you go take a 2-day class, and then you think that's all you need that's all the training you need, and you start working on faces, and you're messing up faces.
yeah,
That's bad, right? That's bad. But if you go take that 2-day class and it ignites passion in you, and you think, okay, this is something that I really dig and that I want to do, and you also have the awareness that you need more training, you need to go, submerge yourself in an additional training, then I think that then that's okay. I think it's the way you utilize that 2-day class. I think the 2-day classes can almost be like a way to like a pre-screening, like to dip your toe in the water to see if you even like microblading. Can you work with blood? Do you like it? Is this something that you want to do before you go get into a long training commitment and spend a lot of money and buy a lot of pigments, and because it's a financial investment. If you decide you want to be a PMU artist or a microblading artist, it's a big investment. You got to find a place to work out of. You got to get health department licensed, insurance and pigments, and everything. It can be thousands and thousands of dollars to set up. So I think it can be like a pre-screening, or it can be disaster. I mean, you go take a class, and and I don't know. You don't think you need any new training, and you just have at it, and it can be a mess. It can end up a hot mess.
definitely. I am a product of a 2-day class, but within 6 months, I was already in my next class. 6 months later, I was in another.
Yeah.
So I knew that in order to really understand and be good at what I was doing, I not only had to, work on as many clients as I could, but learn from as many different people as I could. And sometimes I took a class and I was like, that's just not for me. I'm not going to do it. But I'm glad I took it because I took some things away from that. And
Right.
then there's been classes that have just blown my mind. So my 2-day class was the typical, they came from overseas. I had, I was in a hotel room. We tattooed on carpet. It was literally like the cliche microblading course. And I mean, I didn't have to get a tattoo license. The, instructor was walking around touching models with the same gloves. It was
Oh God.
everything that, people talk about and complain about wrapped up into one.
Yeah.
But I will say the person was a really good artist, and I did learn what I needed to kind of move forward. And then I just started reaching out to other artists, and they would, usually shoot me down and say, take another class, take another class.
Yeah. Yeah.
So eventually that's what I did. I mean, I took more classes. I only took one microblading class though. The other classes I took were more machine based.
Well, you
Uh,
had natural talent, I think, right out of the get go. And some people just do. Some people just have it. And then some people have to work really hard for it. And then some people never get it. That's my philosophy.
yeah,
I think that's the way it is. And unfortunately, there's some people that just they never quite acquire it, right? They never quite get to that skill level. This is just not for them.
Yeah,
And
it's not for everybody.
it's
And if it
definitely
was,
not.
then we'd all be charging $50 for eyebrows.
Yeah, no, no, for sure. So, so shame on that trainer, right? If you're a trainer, you should know bloodborne pathogens. You should be tattooed on carpet and touching things with your gloves and cross contamination. I mean, your training area, your training, it should be, impeccable and on point. But sometimes I don't think, like, if you've never tattooed before, I don't know if you're conscientious of bloodborne pathogens and
Yeah, I wasn't.
what's gross or what's not gross, right? I know I wasn't as a young artist. I just really didn't. So that was my next question. When you were in that class, in that moment, did you know, oh, this is gross, this shouldn't be going on? Or, were you like me and you just had you had no idea? You had no idea about bloodborne pathogens and she was committing all these crimes.
Yeah, so I didn't know you can tattoo on carpet. I didn't know that we had to wrap the table, but I did know that having a pair of gloves on and touching random other models at the same time was wrong, just because
Yeah.
I was a makeup artist and I owned a salon at the time. So I knew the basics of it, and I kind of looked around and I was just like, I don't know if I would actually want to be, cutting into somebody and then touching another person with those same gloves.
Right.
It's just kind of also common sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And, it was just kind of, I don't know. I just kind of looked around and I just saw things that didn't feel right. But I think now there's just no excuse for it. Back then, we didn't know because there was no awareness. Nobody was talking about it on, Facebook. We didn't have groups like, microblading advice and tips.
Right.
We didn't have all that.
Right.
But now,
which is your group. You got a really great group, microblading
Yeah.
advice and tips. So anybody listening, not on Jen's group, you can go join her group. Yeah, I know. And I'm like you. I think it's just some of it's common sense and some of it you do need to learn, right? So
Right.
I think the whole, if your gloves are all, if you have blood on your gloves from a client, you don't touch anything else. To me, that was just kind of common sense. But there was a lot more that went on with cross-contamination that I didn't know. And, I'm sure I committed,
Yeah.
committed, I call it crimes. I don't know another word for that.
Yeah. I was taught to use the same microblading handle and just switch out the blade.
The blade, yeah.
And just like wipe it down with alcohol, barbicide, whatever. And then I read online that people were using single use. So I just ordered a bunch of handles from Alibaba and I started doing that. And I just kind of little by little started realizing the things I needed to do. I couldn't even get my tattoo license in LA for a year because every time I called the Department of Health, they would say they don't deal with microblading because it's not permanent makeup.
Yeah, for so long,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't considered a tattoo. It wasn't considered permanent makeup. It was just this entity out in its own with like no rules, no guidelines, no oversight, no nothing, And a lot of people took advantage of that and really profited off that, and took, right. So, but now, at least now, and I remember all the arguments on Facebook, whether it was permanent makeup, whether it was tattooing, there was semi-permanent. Yeah, and we know now nothing's semi-permanent. If you can't, wash it off, if you got to literally wait months for something to fade out of your face or go have removal, then that's permanent. But some people want to get all nitty gritty and say, yeah, but it doesn't last forever. Well, what the fuck does? Industrial car paint doesn't last forever. Pocket in a Vegas driveway, for for a few summers.
If you can't guarantee it's all coming out, it's permanent.
It's permanent, right. So I don't like this tit for tat, I think it's marketing, right? Because to some women, saying semi-permanent, it's appeasing to some people. It's comforting to some people. I
Right.
think it's a marketing thing. Like when I
Yeah.
first started back in the day, I'm coming up on 22 years this September. So just a few short months. And I got 22 years in this industry. And I
Yes.
remember my first and I came from a body tattoo background. So I damn well knew my first eyebrows I ever did, I knew that was tattooing. I just happened to be tattooing the face, but so do a lot of body tattooers. I mean, there's facial tattoos. And I just happened to be tattooing in the form of an eyebrow using brown pigments and blondes and taupes. I knew it was tattooing, Jen, and no one could convince me otherwise. And back then, 22 years ago, I did my very first lecture on needles. There was no needle theory, or no one in permanent makeup was talking or teaching needles. And that really blew my mind coming from body tattooing, because in body tattooing, artistry was everything. We made our own needles, for Christ's sakes. Knowing your needles, and your needles were your paintbrushes. Tattoo artists knew their needles, and in PMU, they didn't know needles. They didn't know these things. And I remember giving my first lecture on needles, and I was told I couldn't say the word tattoo. I was advised against saying the word tattoo. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
It's so taboo,
It's so
Women
taboo.
don't want to
Yeah.
get a tattoo on their face, but they'll
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
permanent makeup on their
Yeah.
face.
And don't you know how
Yeah.
I opened up my lecture? Hi, my name is Taryn Darlin, and I am a cosmetic tattoo artist. And right up until I walked on stage, I didn't know if that was going to be my opening statement or not. And Kat was, and I was dressed, I was also advised to wear long sleeves, not show my tattoos, don't talk about, I used a coil machine, I got made fun of a couple of times. They called it a jackhammer. I got an argument with a gal at a convention class because she kind of got on my ass about using a coil, and that I should be wearing a face shield because all the blood splatter a coil causes. And it upset me so bad because she was like 70 years old. Nothing wrong with that, but I don't know. And she used, this permanent makeup pen. I was just like, I was so upset, Jen. And it was like, she just had no idea what she was talking about. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? And it upset me so bad because I knew my tools. I knew my coil machine, and my work was really, really good. And yeah, so I think we've come like such a long way. The industry has really evolved to,
Definitely.
where we are today. And of course, personally, I think it's a fantastic thing where the industry is today, on so many levels. And of course, when an industry evolves as fast as our industry has, I mean, look how fast it has evolved in the last just 4 or 5 years, then of course there's some not so great things that, get caught up in that as well. But I think overall, I'm really excited about the evolvement of our industry and the artistry level and all the movements and needles and whatnot. Not that there are too many people stuck on the single needle. I can't wait until we kind of get back to a little bit of needle diversity, But yeah, but I don't know. I just think it's super exciting, where we are. We've come a long way, girl. My gosh.
Yeah, and I mean now it's like it's almost weird to see people without tattoos
Without
in the community.
tattoos. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Before it was like cover them up,
yeah.
that stigma behind it. And now it's kind of like, oh, you don't have any tattoos? Like,
Right.
I can get one.
Right. Yeah. I love it. I absolutely love it.